The United States Army investigating a soldier's death after she was shot on the city's northwest side. How they're hoping to collect tips from potential witnesses.
A woman who dedicated her life to paving the way for others to live freely loses her battle with multiple myeloma. Stephen Cavazos tells us how her legacy, though, lives on.
Live from KSAT 12, the news at noon starts right now.
What may have begun as a joyride has ended in pain for several people in Live Oak.
They were driving down Topperwine Road when a teenager, allegedly on the run in a stolen SUV, hit him.
As Katrina Weber reports, the crash marked the end of a 30-minute-long effort to get back that stolen vehicle.
It's clear from the damage that these three SUVs aren't going anywhere, but the driver of one definitely tried.
As soon as it hit, boom, on impact, I just saw some jerk run that way.
Monica De Hoyos was on her way to work around 8 this morning when she saw a white SUV speeding down Topperwine Road with Bexar County Sheriff's deputies on its tail.
And he's on the wrong lane. I'm like, oh my God. Boom, he slams right into that car, and then the black one slams into that car.
According to deputies, the SUV that started it all had been stolen in Kirby earlier. Police there called for help as it left their city limits. It seems there was some sort of a tracking device involved that initially allowed Kirby police to find the stolen SUV. Then once deputies got involved, they never took their eyes off of it. They chased it all the way from Walsham Road and FM 78 to Live Oak, where it crashed steps away from a hospital.
I went into work shaking and crying. I was like, oh my God, that could have been me.
Her close call was a head-on hit for two other drivers. Luckily, they weren't seriously hurt. Deputies, meanwhile, say they caught the runaway driver nearby, a boy around 13 or 14 years old.
Thank God, that was crazy. You gotta be careful when you're on your way to work.
While she went back to work, paramedics also checked on the suspect, who then went to jail. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
New at noon, $25,000. That's how much the U.S. Army is offering for useful tips as they investigate the murder of a Joint Base San Antonio soldier. Staff Sergeant Jessica Ann Mitchell was last seen at the Fourth Quarter Sports Bar back on January 1st around 2 a.m. That's in the 8700 block of Wurzbach Road. 15 minutes later, investigators say she was shot and killed. Her body found in her vehicle on Interstate 10 near Vance Jackson Road. Sergeant Mitchell was driving a 2019 white Dodge Charger. If you know something that will help in this investigation, you're asked to call Fort Sam Houston SID or CID office at 210-221-1628.
Also new this noon, more details about a woman who was killed after she was hit by a driver on the north side this weekend. The Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office now identifying her as 58-year-old Diane Mireles Perez. Police say on Sunday night she was leaving a bar near West Avenue and Trudell Drive, not too far from Jackson Keller Road. Somehow, though, she ended up lying down in the street. Police say the intersection is not well lit, and that driver in the truck did not see the woman until it was too late. The driver who hit her did stop and try to help. That person is not facing any charges.
Police investigating after a man was shot while driving on the city's northeast side yesterday. The victim told officers he was driving near I-35 and Loop 410 when he got caught in between two people who were driving erratically. The man says he thinks they were either racing or involved in a road rage situation. And at some point, one of the drivers pulled out a gun and fired, hitting the victim. He was taken to the hospital. At last check, police had not found those drivers involved.
She was one of the first openly gay people in the Alamo City and over the years advocated for inclusion and acceptance. 80-year-old Nickie Valdez was considered a trailblazer when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, but she died after an 8-year battle with multiple myeloma last December. Stephen Cavazos spoke to her wife, who says Nickie's legacy deserves a place in history.
An inspiration to others is how many would describe Nickie Valdez, a woman who dedicated her life paving the way for others to live freely.
People saw her kind of as a matriarch, a mother, a figure.
We spoke to her wife of more than 30 years, Deborah Myers. She says Nickie was one of the first openly gay women in San Antonio. She had come out in the 1960s, a time when it wasn't easy.
She had this courage and this strength about her that allowed her to just be herself.
Nickie's activism started early on. In the 1970s, she helped launch Dignity San Antonio, one of the longest-running LGBTQ+ organizations in the city. The mission for inclusion for LGBTQ+ people in and out of the Catholic Church. Deborah says it was her life's work.
She wanted to create a space for other people to recognize that they were created in God's image and that they belonged.
But on Christmas Day and at 80 years old, Nickie died after an 8-year battle with multiple myeloma, a rare form of cancer that affects the bones of the body. Despite her death, many say Nickie left her mark, and her work has made a difference in communities everywhere. Executive Director of the Pride Center of San Antonio, Robert Salcido, tells us in a statement, Nickie was a pioneer in the LGBTQ+ movement. She was passionate about her community, and that was evidenced by her steadfast support of many LGBTQ+ organizations, causes, and initiatives.
Even though we still have a long ways to go, but because of people like Nickie, we're able to, hold hands at the park. We're able to get married.
Deborah believes Nickie's legacy will live on through the acts of others she inspired to create a better world.
I think people are energized and motivated to continue to make a difference in other people's lives.
Stephen Cavazos, KSAT 12 News.
Now to the coronavirus pandemic, 25 more people have died after contracting the virus. Right now in our hospitals, there are still 1,400 COVID-19 patients. There was a slight dip for the second day in a row, but Mayor Ron Nirenberg says the flow of COVID-19 patients has not stopped. 393 patients are in the intensive care unit, 237 are on ventilators.
It's a new year, but yep, we are still dealing with the same pandemic. We have all been living with the reality of COVID-19 for 10 months now, and the stress is leaving very few of us unscathed.
It is the topic of tomorrow's episode of KSAT Explains. The anxiety is understandable, but how you choose to cope with it is important. There is concern that more people will come out of this pandemic struggling with addiction.
Myra Arthur introduces us to a man who is helping to keep teens and young adults sober during this time. And for him, this mission is personal.
When it comes to substance abuse or addiction, normally it's the loved ones or the friends of the person suffering or that's afflicted that notices there's a problematic pattern beforehand.
Nigel Williams was a teenager when his parents made him get help for substance abuse.
It's the same old story. My grades had dropped in school a little bit. My interest in all of my other hobbies and activities had dwindled to almost nothing.
His road to recovery had ups and downs, but he says Rise Recovery helped. He's now been sober since 2014, and he's giving back. For the past 5 years, Williams has been a peer support specialist at Rise Recovery, where recently the center's CEO says she's seen some troubling trends. Because of the pandemic, more people are feeling disconnected.
As a result of that, we see a lot of increases in depression and anxiety. We're seeing a lot of struggling with sobriety and a lot of relapse.
A report released over the summer by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows 13% of U.S. adults have begun using substances or increased their use. And while more people are turning to substance abuse to cope, the pandemic has made the job of helping these people more challenging.
You meet anybody in recovery, we're always giving out hugs. And face-to-face interactions are, again, that's what helped me want to get sober in the first place. And so having to change and adapt what we do to a virtual setting has been more than arduous at times, but I guess definitely worth it, Andy.
When it comes to his own sobriety, Williams says his recovery has helped him prepare for the isolation of COVID-19.
Having a world be unpredictable, having to spend time with yourself, being trapped alone with your thoughts. That's kind of the bread and butter of, what it took to get sober, was to learn to be okay with myself.
Myra Arthur, KSAT 12 News.
If you seek help for substance abuse, there is a 24-hour recovery helpline.
The number to call is 210-927-4644 or 210-SAY-CARE. KSAT Explains Your Mental Health in 2021 is available stream on demand right now. It's already dropped, so it is there right now.
You can find it on ksat.com/explains or on the KSAT TV app, which is available on most streaming devices.
Health and safety concerns are being cited as reasons for canceling the carnival at the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo this year. The Junior Livestock Show will continue as planned, though. Cancellation of the carnival isn't the only change for the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, though. You can read more about those changes on KSAT.com. Texas Tech pulling off a huge huge upset over the Texas Longhorns in Austin with a last-second shot. Larry Ramirez with the highlights coming up.
President Donald Trump impeached for a second time, but what comes next? When his impeachment trial could begin after the break.
The House of Representatives has made history impeaching President Donald Trump again, this time for incitement of insurrection at the Capitol.
Attention now turning to the Senate, which could start an impeachment trial on the same day as President-elect Joe Biden's administration's inauguration.
ABC's Elizabeth Schultze is in Washington with the latest for us.
That resolution is adopted.
With less than a week left in office, President Trump is now the only president in American history to be impeached twice.
Is there little time left? Yes. But it is never too late to do the right thing.
It's also the most bipartisan impeachment in history, 10 Republicans joining Democrats to charge Trump with incitement of insurrection at the Capitol.
Last week, there was a domestic threat at the door of the Capitol, and he did nothing to stop it.
Democrats not buying the argument from most Republicans that impeachment would only divide the country more.
A police officer was killed, and what I hear is time to heal. He's not even buried yet.
The top Republican in the House, Kevin McCarthy, not voting to impeach, but giving his strongest rebuke of the president yet.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters.
But the president is still not taking any responsibility for the attack. And sources tell ABC News he grew angry watching on television as Republicans publicly stated their belief he was culpable. In a video after the vote, Trump didn't mention impeachment, but said he condemned the violence.
No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence.
But the day they attacked the Capitol, he praised them.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
The House must now send the article of impeachment to the Senate, which is on a break until next Tuesday. So the earliest an impeachment trial could start in earnest is January 20th, the same day as President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration.
Now, 2/3 of the Senate would need to vote to convict the president. That means 17 Republicans would need to join Democrats to find President Trump guilty. A conviction could bar him from ever holding federal public office again. Elizabeth Schultze, ABC News, Washington.
Outside with live cam, what did like yesterday, the day before, was 45 at this time?
Look at that temperature. You're right. 69 degrees. Awesome.
Yeah, it's the numbers really leapt up today, right out ahead of a cold front. That cold front's going to be moving through soon. That's going to do a couple of things. Cool us down a little bit, but bring some very gusty winds this afternoon. So that'll be the big story. The aquifer is in good shape. It's up another 1/10 of a foot today to 665 even. In your pollen count, mountain cedar jumped up today. It's in the high category, 4,380. Mold is low. We'll talk about those winds when they die down and maybe some rain chances in our future. That's coming up.
Well, I guess all the snow's melted.
Yeah, at this point, finally. You know, we always give you a lot of guff when it's bad weather, so kudos.
Oh, thank you. Today is going to be nice, okay? But if you're stepping outside right now and thinking, oh, this is great, I got to warn you, the winds are going to pick up. It's going to get really gusty here in a little bit because we've got a front coming through. Temperatures won't just fall off. It's not going to be terribly cold behind this front, but it will be a little bit drier, and you'll see those winds through later this afternoon. There's the front right now, stretches from parts of the Great Lakes all the way down into Texas, and is on our doorstep here in San Antonio. Those winds just to our north. You see the gusts across the state, gusting to 41 in Amarillo, 40 in Lubbock, 49 in Wichita Falls, so some very strong winds. Ours will not be that strong, but I do think we could see some gusts close to 30, maybe even 35. You see San Antonio there now recording a 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So the winds are starting to pick up. We're seeing that in Rock Springs, Kerrville, Fredericksburg, even out towards Del Rio, where gusts have been recorded up to 30 miles per hour. And looking at the wind gust forecast here, I'd say gusts around 30 through 3 or 4 o'clock. We'll see that especially across the hill country, but all of the area will start to see some breezy to windy conditions. And then by 5 o'clock, staying fairly windy. But once the sun goes down, I think the winds calm quite a bit, more into the 5 to 15 mile per hour range. And then they'll pick up again tomorrow. Probably some gusts tomorrow, 20, 25, so not as strong as today. Outside right now, we've got clear skies, 73 at the airport now. That number has just jumped up. Impressive, sometimes right out ahead of these fronts. you'll get some pretty rapid warming, although the temperatures here across the area are sort of suspect. Interesting that it's 63 at Stinson, 10 degrees cooler, 59 at Kelly, but that probably has something to do with that front. I'll check those observations here in just a second. But you see that there are some 70s right out ahead of the front, so it is warming up quite a bit. 70 in Bulverde, 71 Helotes, 58 Randolph, 69 in New Braunfels. Again, sort of interesting how the temperature structure is set up there. 59 Rock Springs, 68 in Del Rio. These areas behind the front now in the 60s. Looking at the dew points, very dry. Drier air will shove in behind this front, so we'll get dew points in the 20s and 30s. In the forecast calls for 70s now, but I think eventually those numbers kind of come down a little bit in the wake of that front, and it will be fairly chilly by tomorrow morning. We have gotten some rain as of late, and this is good news. Drought monitor came in today, and we saw some improvement here. Bexar County is still in a severe drought, but not the extreme like it was. Of course, this area has been in extreme drought for a long while. There was a little bit of an improvement there, and across the state, 48% of the state in drought. A week ago, it was 58%. So those rains did help, but we may have a little bit more on the way. As we look down the line here, this is the storm system that's bringing the front through today. It moves away, doesn't give us any rain. Next storm system moves to our north, doesn't really give us any rain, maybe gives us some clouds Sunday and Monday. But as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, cutoff low develops out west. This is generally a good position for us to get some decent rainfall. It looks like we'll get some good moisture in here. That'll be Tuesday into Wednesday, so that'll be something to watch next week. Forecast for today, again, up around 70 or so, although we're already up to 73, so maybe a little bit warmer than that. 61 tomorrow, breezy. 65 Saturday, 59 Sunday, and mostly cloudy for MLK Day. 66 and mostly cloudy. And then some rain chances Tuesday and Wednesday. Temperatures stay right there in the 60s, guys.
All right, stand by for the win. Thank you.
Talk about losing its luster. Larry Ramirez with the Rockets Spurs matchup tonight, not the same anymore. We'll have that coming up.
What's your reaction to potentially reuniting with your former OKC teammate James Harden?
I'll wait till the deal's finalized to talk about it.
But Kevin Durant's smile says it all. He's excited that James Harden is joining the Brooklyn Nets in big board sports. After going 4-1 on their road trip, the Spurs are home tonight to open up a two-game homestand with the beardless Houston Rockets. DeMar DeRozan is back with the Spurs and available after missing time for personal reasons. The Spurs are coming off a win at OKC 112-102, in which they only turned the ball over 4 times. They lead the NBA, averaging just 9.5 turnovers per game. Kelvin Johnson says it all starts with number 5.
Well, DJ setting the pace. DeJounte, he's setting the pace at a great tempo, and we getting it up the court, and we just continue to communicate. I feel like we pretty much all been on the same in the same flow of rhythm, and I mean that helps it out, you know. And if we miss something, we communicate about it and on to the next play. So I think that I mean it all starts with our point guard, and I feel like he's doing a great job setting the pace for us and getting everybody involved.
So here's the matchup. Sub-500 Rockets at the 6-5 Spurs tonight, 6:30 at the AT&T Center. So the big NBA news is the Rockets trading disgruntled star guard James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets yesterday in a blockbuster 4-team trade. As part of the deal, Houston will receive the Nets' first-round draft picks in 2022, 24, and 2026. Harden demanded a trade before the season started, and it all came to a head Tuesday night after another loss to the Lakers when Harden said the Rockets are not good enough. That struck some of his former teammates like DeMarcus Cousins the wrong way.
Obviously, it's disrespectful, but you know, everybody has a right to their opinion. We feel a certain type of way about some of his actions, but you know, this is the, you know, the nasty part of the business that kind of gets swept under the rug. You deal with these type of things, and you know, when guys are in positions of being, you know, franchise players or whatever the case may be, it's usually sometimes a nasty, you know, breakup.
The Rockets have lost 2 straight, both the Lakers and 4 of their last 5. Number 15, Texas Tech won a thrilling game at number 4, Texas last night. Late second half, Courtney Ramey makes a corner 3 ball, and Texas leads 77-73 with 1:40 to go. That was the end of their scoring. It's now 77-all, less than 10 seconds left. Red Raiders guard Mac McClung gets it done with a long jumper with 2.2 seconds to go. Just short of a 3, Sears is happy. He scored a game-high 22 points, and he's all kinds of pumped up. Horns get one last look. Matt Coleman with time running out, and his desperation triple is no good. Texas Tech wins in Austin 79-77, ending the Horns' perfect start in the Big 12. Look at that smile, Sears.
Big one.
It does say it all.
It's even really better when you win in Austin.
There you go.
That would make it good. We'll be right back.
Now to the coronavirus emergency. The CDC now out with a dire new forecast predicting the U.S. death toll could rise to 477,000 in just about 3 weeks.
But in a sign of hope, more mass vaccination sites are opening all over the U.S. as the race to vaccinate Americans continues. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
A White House coronavirus task force report obtained by ABC News says nearly all metro areas, over 500,000 people, are in full resurgence of COVID-19. Tuesday, the nation's deadliest day, with more than 4,300 deaths reported, roughly 1 American dying from the virus every 20 seconds.
Once you get to a certain point and it's hard to breathe, it's real scary.
ABC News got an inside look at this field hospital at the UMass Memorial Medical Center, where nearly 400 patients have been treated since December. Hospitals in hard-hit Southern California also overwhelmed.
The work right now is exhausting.
The vaccine rollout slowly picking up, with mass vaccination sites popping up all over, including Yankee Stadium in New York and Disneyland in California.
Today, for many people getting vaccinated, it is truly the happiest place on earth.
Only 10.3 million Americans have been partially vaccinated, just 10% of the prioritized population, and only 3% of the entire country. And demand seems to be higher than supply. New York City's mayor with this warning.
We will run out of vaccine at some point next week unless we get a major new resupply.
In Mississippi, the Department of Health says it has now committed their entire vaccine supply, and they're not expected to get more until next month. And now there's new concern with researchers at Ohio State University identifying 2 new variants here in the U.S. that are unrelated to international travel. Scientists say they need more information about the variants, but that the vaccines will likely work against them. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Johnson & Johnson says its experiments with the COVID-19 vaccine have been successful. The company says early-stage trials show it creates an immune response in nearly all volunteers with very minimum side effects, and that after just 1 dose. The phase 3 trial will determine how well it protects people from coronavirus. Johnson & Johnson says they expect to put out more details later on this month. They're hoping to apply for authorization from the FDA not too long after that.
A team of researchers with the World Health Organization is in Wuhan to investigate the origins of the pandemic. The 10-member team was approved by China's president after months of diplomatic wrangling that prompted an unusual public complaint by the head of the WHO. Beijing has suffered multiple accusations saying it allowed the disease to spread. The government says the virus came from abroad, but foreign scientists say that's unlikely. Scientists suspect the virus jumped to humans from bats or other animals.
Taking a look outside with live cam. This is not a recording. This is live. Wow. What are we doing indoors?
Yeah, it is nice out there right now. It says 67 on your screen, but we actually jumped up to 73, guys, just within the last few minutes. It's right out ahead of a frontal boundary, and sometimes you can get some pretty rapid heating when you're just ahead of a front that's coming through. Let's take a look at the numbers across the state. It is cooler behind the front, 46 in Amarillo, 48 in Lubbock, but not bitterly cold. This is not going to be a significant cold front in the sense that temperatures are going to really drop off, but the big story will be the wind. It is already starting to pick up some. We're seeing some gusts close to 25 here in San Antonio, and some bigger gusts up to the north. Places like Abilene, Waco, seeing gusts up over 40 miles per hour with this front, gusty northerly wind. Of course, that brings some concerns when it comes to Mountain Cedar. Is it going to jump up tomorrow? There's a good chance that it will. 71 right now in Bulverde, 66 Bernie Stage, 67 in Comfort, 65 in Bandera. Again, right out ahead of the front, we are seeing some 70s on the map this afternoon. So we'll call for 70s eventually falling off into the 60s behind the front and then down into the 50s tonight. Northerly winds 15 to 25 miles per hour and gusty. We've got some rain on the way, too. It looks like next week. We'll take another look at the 7-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Guys.
Thank you, Justin. We're going to hear from the top swimmers in the country. They are here in San Antonio training for the upcoming Summer Games in Japan. Larry Ramirez with that coming up in sports.
Petco saw a huge boost amid the pandemic. More people took home some furry friends. Now the company is looking for another boost. We have details after the break.
Hello, everyone. This is your daily tech and business briefing from Cheddar. Petco will go public over at the NASDAQ today. The pet supply retailer's IPO coming in above expectations, raising $864 million on Wednesday. The company sold 48 million shares at $18 a piece. That's above their initial $14 to $17 price range. Now, shares will trade over at the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol WOOF. Petco saw a huge boost amid the pandemic as more people adopted pets. Meanwhile, Poshmark also getting in on the IPO craze. The online fashion retailer is set to go public today with an IPO price of $42 a piece. That's above their expected range of $35 to $39. The company raised $277 million in their initial debut. Shares are expected to begin trading at some point today at the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol POSH. And shares of Affirm popping nearly 100% during their first day of trading at the NASDAQ. The stock began trading at about $90 a share, and they closed at $97. That topped its IPO price of $49. The company is based in San Francisco and runs what they call a next-generation platform for digital and mobile e-commerce. And that's your Cheddar Business and Tech Update. I'm Baker Machado coming to you from Cheddar Studios in Lower Manhattan.
A new holistic center in Universal City is providing healing for clients and for the owners. The Dexter family opened Red Feather Healing a short time ago to carry on the legacy of their late daughter, Tabitha, who battled with breast cancer twice. Alicia Barrera visited the small business to learn more about the impact it's had on the family and vendors.
Good afternoon. Well, Red Feather Healing is all about good energy, using the resources of Mother Nature, all while supporting local vendors. And this idea actually started years ago by Tabitha as a pop-up shop. Tabitha is the daughter of Jerry and Robert Dexter, and she started traveling and featuring local vendors with her mom, but she wanted to have a place where she could house all these items 7 days a week. Tabitha, an Air Force veteran and Norse shaman, battled with breast cancer twice and found strength in the love of her parents and the wonders of Mother Nature. Her path to holistic health actually started with essential oils and a special visit to a bird rescue in Missouri during her recovery from the reconstruction surgery after her double mastectomy. Each item sold at the new business aligns with their beliefs in healing and good energy.
And that became part of the fabric of who we were as well. And when she was at the VA in the hospital, her room was just decked out with salt lamps and gemstones and essential oils and diffusers. I think last time we checked, we have over 7,000 items in inventory. But I know having essential oils is huge. I know salt lamps are huge. I know gemstones. People come in and they just gravitate to gemstones.
For the full story of the family's mission through Red Feather Healing, you can head over to KSAT.com. We've also listed the address and hours of operation. Reporting Alicia Barrera, KSAT 12 News.
Warm. Nice.
Yeah, at least you can take that coat off now.
Yeah,
70,
well, afternoon,
73, 74 degrees now.
73. We started off in the mid-30s this morning, but we've rapidly warmed up out ahead of a cold front. So 73 is our high so far today. That may be where we plateau because behind this front, temperatures will fall off a little bit. Got down to 34 this morning, so a huge spread from the low to high. The averages are 63 and 41. Obviously, we're already well above average for today. The record is 79. That was set back in 1980. I don't think we'll get there. A little cooler tomorrow, gusty winds. That'll be the other big story this afternoon. We'll detail all of it for you coming up.
Have We got deals for you. Welcome to KSATdeals.com. Now, your dentist and your teeth are going to love you for this next product. It is an electric toothbrush, the Aquasonic Black Series toothbrush and travel case. Now, this toothbrush removes 10 times more plaque than your regular toothbrush. How do you ask? Listen to this. This is the sound of 40,000 vibrations per minute. You can customize your brushing experience with 4 modes: clean, soft, whiten, and massage. Now, there's a timer on here to let you know when to brush a new area. You can take this anywhere with you, and it comes with a hardcover travel case and 8 brush heads. Now, give those pearly whites the TLC they deserve. So the retail price for this is $99, but the KSAT Deals price, $39.99. That's a 59% discount. You can head over to KSATdeals.com to find this one and many other deals.
There's yielding, there's merging, and they're both pet peeves for drivers, especially on the highway. And that is the topic of our latest SAQ. Desiree wanted to know, why do loops assessing interstate or highways have posted yield signs? Most drivers treat these as stop signs or fail to merge appropriately, causing unnecessary backups. Well, here's Samuel King, who has an answer.
In Texas, yield signs on highways are usually only posted when there isn't much room to yield otherwise. And there are a few examples of that around town, including at I-10 at Loop 1604 out near La Cantera. We saw some drivers approach that interchange differently, so we asked instructor Roland Garza at Roads Driving School in El Lotus for some best practices.
I think they're going to just get on there, and they expect the people on the highway to make room for them. And the people on the highway are expecting these people to, do the opposite. So everyone's kind of doing their own drive, their own thing.
He says when you see a red and white yield sign, you're supposed to yield to the oncoming traffic, find the gap, and then keep up with the flow. But that's unless the lane is blocked, so then you may have to stop until the way is clear. Garza says merging and yielding is all about awareness on the roads. And yes, it's critical for you to use your blinker, especially when getting onto a highway.
Movement and eye and light attracts the eyes of the driver. So if the person on the highway is not focused and then they see movement and they see light, then they're suddenly, aware of the situation.
And again, whether you're yielding, merging, or just driving around, the key thing is to share the road. Samuel King, KSAT 12 News.
Oh man, that's sparking some good discussion here in the newsroom. Good story, Sam. Thank you. Mountain Cedar, it's in the high category, 4,380 today. It jumped up. We're going to watch what the winds do today, because with winds picking up out of the north, there is a distinct possibility that number could go a little bit higher tomorrow. So just heads up. If it's bugging you today, likely not going away tomorrow. In fact, it could get worse. Outside right now, 73 degrees, northwesterly winds at about 16 miles per hour, gusting to 25. So these winds are already picking up as this front comes through. And we're going to see consistently, I think, throughout the afternoon, winds in the 15 to 25 mile per hour range. There's our front right on our doorstep, starting to move through San Antonio as we speak. And there's not a lot of cold air with this, but it will cool us down tomorrow. Temperatures will be about 10 to 15 degrees cooler behind this front. The big story today, the gusty winds, gusting to 43 in Abilene, 32 San Angelo, now gusting to 25 here in town. So you can kind of pick out where the front is just based on the winds. And as we take a little closer look here, some gusts around 30 in Kerrville, 35 in Rock Springs. That's some of the higher gusts we've seen so far. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few gusts 30 to 35. Here's the wind gust forecast. As we get into 2, 4, 6 o'clock, that's when winds will be at their strongest. They'll try to die down some tonight, although they still can be a little bit breezy from time to time. And that certainly will be the case again tomorrow, too. Satellite picture gives us clear skies. We're not getting any clouds with this front either, and temperatures kind of all over the board here. 65 Port SA, 66 at Randolph, but 73 here in San Antonio. And that's probably because we're seeing a little bit of compressional heating right out ahead of this front, and these numbers just haven't updated quite yet. The airport updated a little bit sooner. 76 in New Braunfels, 72 out there in Castroville, 72 Valdez. So there are some 70s on the map. But behind the front, you're finding 60s, places like Fredericksburg, 61, 64 right now in Kerrville. Forecast for today, Yeah, we will be in the 70s early, but those numbers will start to tumble, especially once the sun goes down, and eventually we'll work our way down into the 30s by tomorrow morning. Dew points also stay low all the way into the weekend, but next week the numbers really do jump up. This is sort of spring-like moisture, if you will, Tuesday into Wednesday, and I think that's going to lead to some showers and storms, which is good news. We need some rain, still some more here around South Texas. So there's our first storm system. We get another one behind that moves to the north. Doesn't really do much for us. Maybe picks up the cloud cover Sunday into Monday, but we're not putting rain chances in. It's not until Tuesday that this upper level low breaks off from the jet stream and it sort of cuts off and sits out to our west. As we mentioned earlier, this is typically a good setup for us when it comes to rain chances, but also the models don't handle cutoff lows very well. So there's still a few questions there as we get into next week. Right now, we're going to put in a 30% chance both Tuesday and Wednesday. In the meantime, windy today, breezy tomorrow, 61 for a high, 65 on Saturday, 59 Sunday with mostly cloudy skies. That'll be the case Monday, too, for MLK Day. And then, as we mentioned, chances of rain there Tuesday and Wednesday. And if the models, if it pans out like what we're seeing right now, there could be some decent rain around the area, guys.
Thank you, Justin.
All right, DeMar DeRozan back with the Spurs tonight as he get ready to take on the Rockets. Larry's got that coming up.
I mean, DeMar is a great player. When he comes back, it helps the team so much. DeMar brings so much to us with leadership and scoring, and he fills up the stat sheet. So I think, of course, with him coming back, it's going to help us out tremendously.
Rookie Devin Vassell and the Spurs are happy DeMar DeRozan is back in big board sports. It is game day for the Spurs, who will face the Houston Rockets for the first time this season. The first of 3 games between the two Southwest Division foes. After missing the last 2 games to handle personal business, the Spurs' leading scorer, DeMar DeRozan, is back and available for the game tonight. The Spurs went 1-1 without him. On the other roster, James Harden is gone after he was traded to the Brooklyn Nets yesterday. This morning, Spurs' Rudy Gay was asked about facing the beardless Rockets.
Rockets always been a weird team to play against. You're going to be competitive either way. They still have a lot of great players. What's going on there is that between them and their players or whatever, but we need this win. Obviously, having DeMar back is great for us. He's been our go-to, our centerpiece, and having him back would be great. Just to go out there and compete. He's one of those. He's just a guy we need.
Rockets and Spurs play tonight 6:30 at the AT&T Center.
Pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
Fresh off of their bye week, the Green Bay Packers are ready to play some football. The Pack finished an NFC Best 13-3 and will host the LA Rams on Saturday. And that game will feature 3 area guys, which just adds to the local excitement. On the Rams, you have running back Malcolm Brown from Steele High School and former John Jay wide receiver Josh Reynolds. Plus, the Green Bay Packers have linebacker and Reagan Rattler Ty Summers, who said it's cool to have 3 players from the 210 in this game who all serve as role models to area student athletes.
It's a tremendous opportunity, one, just to be here and have this experience, but it's awesome that we can kind of, show the way a little bit to a lot of those guys back in San Antonio that, was me at one point. And so to kind of show them that it's possible, all it takes is some hard work, dedication, and it'll get you there. I mean, in some form or facet, it might not be the NFL, but it's going to be something because you're going to learn from it and you're going to get better. And so hopefully that's like what me, Malcolm, and Josh can kind of show to these guys, that it's possible regardless of where you come from.
Packers will host the Rams Saturday, 3:35 p.m. at Lambeau Field. Olympic gold medalists are in San Antonio for the second major swimming sanctioned meet to get ready for the Tokyo Olympics this summer. They are part of 200 athletes who will compete in the TYR Pro Swim Series at the Bill Walker Pool at Blossom Athletic Center starting today. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, no fans will be allowed during the 4-day event.
I was talking to an athlete this morning saying that she hasn't been this happy since March, which was the last time we had a big competition when a lot of our best athletes were with each other. So it's taken a long time to get here. We're excited to be here, looking forward to the racing, and hopefully we get to come back and do it again soon.
And we are excited to have them in town.
I was going to say, San Antonio, with the swim centers we have around town, that's become like a hotbed for some of these fantastic swimmers. That's good stuff. All right, Larry.
All right, SA Live has Mike and Jen.
Are they're not.
Fun.
Oh, they might be swimming in food.
Oh, yes, we are. Speaking of food, yeah, we're talking fish, but it is a relatively new restaurant in town, the Hayden, combination of Southern Diner and Jewish deli.
Yes, Matthew Cruzan is here to give us a taste of the smoked salmon, but you had a good question for him.
So, this is a beautiful smoked, but there's a difference in smoked salmons, right?
Right, you have your hot smoked and your cold smoked. So a hot smoked salmon is traditionally wet brined and then smoked at a high temperature, and then your cold smoke is dry brined and then smoked at a temperature no higher than 80 degrees.
Okay, and that's where we get lox, and that's what we are making today, right?
Absolutely.
And it's got some special little touches to it as well. I'm really excited about
And
this
to
food.
wash it down, we have their brunch cocktails. We're getting a sample of that menu, and let me tell you, they look amazing, smell good, look good. Can't wait to try those.
Yes, indeed. All right, Make-A-Wish, wonderful organization.
And they are teaming up with two designers. We get to see this room transformation for a very deserving young man. The big reveal's coming up on our show.
All right, new year, how about a new look? Some of the latest makeup trends. A local cosmetics company is giving us all the information on what's to wear.
What's trending? I love those pops of color. Plus, are you a fan of the big Netflix show Bridgerton?
It's great.
We watched it all. Both of us did.
Okay, and it's very great, and they've got these long names, Lord and Lady of some blah, 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 blah. What's your Bridgerton name?
We have a fun little combination that'll give you your name, that and more coming up on SA Live.